Welcome back to another video. It's Bradford City v Notts County match preview. Let me know your score predictions and thoughts going into a game in the comments down below. Like the video if you do go on to do so, and subscribe if you're new as well. On the road to 300 subscribers, all the support is massively appreciated as ever. It's a 12:30 kickoff. I have big issues with that. Hate early kickoffs, especially when they're on Sky as well. Our last 6 games on Sky have resulted with 3 wins, 2 draws and 1 defeat. We've already had 1 game on Sky this season. That was a abysmal 1-1 draw against Grimsby. Our away form is just as bad as that performance against Grimsby. Last season, one of the best away teams in the league, consistently in the top 7 for away form, and I think we probably ended around 3rd. We were fantastic on the road, but we've only picked up 2 wins on the road this season, 2 draws and 5 defeats, only gaining 8 points. In complete contrast, their home form is fantastic. They've had 6 wins, no draws and 2 defeats, getting 18 points at home, making Meadow Lane quite a fortress so far this season. But they are vulnerable at the minute. They've had 2 defeats in a row, losing to Crewe 1-0, losing to Wrexham 2-0, a 3-0 win against Newport, a 2-1 win against Gillingham, and a 4-1 defeat on Sky against Mansfield, where they did get obliterated, a few mistakes in there defensively. So they are get-outable. They've only had 2 wins in 5. They've had poor performances recently, considering the hype around them, the expectation, and how well they've played for the majority of the season so far. They are vulnerable in certain areas, and we'll get into that into what we can expect later on. But our results: a 2-1 defeat to Barrow, a 2-1 defeat to Sutton, a 4-1 humiliation by MK Dons on Mike Williamson's first game, a 1-1 draw against Wrexham, which were a really good game for the neutral, but we didn't come away with a win, and a 1-0 win away to Wimbledon. So we've only had 1 win in 5, and we haven't won in 4 games, which is not good reading at all. It's probably the best time to be playing Notts County because their manager's heavily linked to Oxford, although by the time you maybe watch this, they might have appointed Buckingham or whatever his name is. I think he's managing over in China, a very good up-and-coming manager, so it is looking like he's not the favourite at the minute, but throughout the week he has been heavily linked with the job. That might have dissuaded him a bit. We all know what rumours can do to managers and players, having watched the decline of Harry Lewis so far this season, having maybe getting swayed by the rumours of Barnsley. The referee, Tom Reeves, he has been in control of 4 League 2 games this season, picking up 14 yellow cards for both oppositions and no reds given out yet. He's refereed 36 League 2 games in general. I think most of his games he's refereed have been in League 1. In those League 2 games, handing out 132 yellow cards and 4 red cards, so not too many in the way of the reds in there. Against City, he's only refereed 3 games thus far. This is going to be his 4th, of course. We've won 1, drawn 1 and lost 1, handing out 6 yellow cards to the Bantams, but no red cards to date. Against Notts County though, 4 games, 2 wins, 2 draws and no defeats. Hopefully that can change sooner rather than later. And they've only picked up 4 yellow cards under him as well, with no red cards. But what does all that matter, really? I think referee stats can be taken out of context a bit. The key players coming into this one then, Notts County have a plethora of key players. In contrast to City, we have barely any, if any. I think it would be really hard for a Notts County fan to be giving our key players out, but for them, I could go with anyone, and I've gone with the easy of going for their top 3 in attack with Dan Cowley. Is it Dan Cowley? Anyway, Crowley, 7 goals, 3 assists, very tricky player. A number 10 who can play as a winger, but more narrow in there, and he's been superb so far this season. One of the best sort of winger number 10s this season by far, being fantastic, and took me by surprise. McGoldrick as well, obviously with a pedigree of playing in the Premier League, the Championship, and getting a good goal record there and scoring over 20 goals in League 1 last season for Derby. He's got that knack of scoring goals, but what is so key to the play of Notts County is he links the attack, and that's something that he's done throughout his career, and is a handful for defenders as well as getting that goal threat. So of course there's a big threat and a big danger to our back line. And Macaulay Langstaff, how can you not speak about this man when speaking about Notts County? Joint 3rd top goal scorer, Fox in the box, but he's really pacing behind as well, so we've got to be careful with that high line if we don't play, and I don't think we will. I don't think we'll be that naive against a striker like Langstaff to be allowing that with our slow defenders. Whichever combination we go for, they're all slow, with Tomkinson out on international duty. Into a past and presents then, I've gone with 3 Garys who used to play for Bath City and Notts County, and all I don't know if they've played with each other in the same side, but definitely within a year or so, being at City and Notts County. Gary Jones played for Bath City, obviously a big part in the 2012-13 side, a legend for City, and that shows how big of a player he's been for us, that he was there for so little time, but yet he's got this status that's so high. Played against us in a 1-0 win for Bath City in 14-15 after leaving us to go to Notts County. Gary Thompson also played in that game, signed in the same summer as Gary Jones for Notts County. He got 11 goals that season after he left us for Notts County. And Gary Liddell, 2 years with them and 2 years with us, didn't rate him, but he's gone on to be a solid player wherever he's gone, but wasn't really convinced with him at City, to be fair. What can we expect from this Notts County side? Notts County play a very heavy possession style of play that's non-negotiable under Luke Williams. They've been really successful playing that way. We tried playing in a similar style of play, but less effectively under Mark Hughes, where we were doing no progress and no process to the way we were playing from the back. It got to our centre-backs, they were waving their arms and like, where do we go now? And Notts County don't do that. They do go backwards and sideways, but they do it for a reason, to keep probing and to set up to try and break down the opposition by keep moving the ball and then find the gaps in their midfield to break through them. We'll have to set up with a mid to low block to try and stop that with a cautious press. You know, you've got to get at them, you've got to set the traps. We've seen teams do it against us. Stockport do it really well when they play against us. Mansfield did it really well when we went to their place, and loads of teams have done it against us under Mark Hughes, setting a mid to low block, but they do get at us and they do set traps. So then when they do play out, the mistakes are there when you do trigger that press to pounce on them, and we'll definitely have to do that, because these mistakes in this Notts County defence when playing out from the back, they did it numerous times against Mansfield on Sky. I remember watching it, and they've done it plenty of times so far this season as well. There's a real lack of pace in the back line as well, especially in wide areas in transition. So that's another area where we can try and target them, and I'll get onto that with my team selection later on. But yeah, the fantastic side, and they will easily break you down if you don't get your press right. So that's why it has to be cautious. But it will have to be more of a counter-attacking performance and let them have the ball, but also make sure you're in the right place to make sure you can intercept it with ease. Into head-to-heads then, 23 games won, 16 drawn, and we've lost 28 against Notts County. So they've come out on top more times than us in those 67 games that we've played. But we have only lost once in our last 6 games against Notts County, so that's a little bit better of recent times. A 3-0 defeat in that, where Jack Grealish got on the goal sheet when he went on loan to Notts County there. That win League 1 in 13-14, I think it might have been. But in our last 5, a 1-1 draw, a 1-0 win, a 3-0 defeat, that 3-0 defeat I alluded to, that 1-1 draw, and a 1-0 win of those 5 games of the last 5 head-to-heads. I've gone with a back 5. Tomkinson's out, he definitely would have been in. And there's a couple of other players out, and a couple of players who I'd like to see playing a different style, a different role to what we've seen them. Now, I've completely disregarded that Alexander plays a 4-4-2 and he'll go with this player and that player. I've gone with the team I'd purely select, taking everything out the equation. Lewis in goal, got a bit of criticism on Saturday, but I don't think he could have done much about the goals. He saw both of them late, and he would need really good reactions to get to save them, and that's the difference. That's why he's in League 2. You know, he's not a Premier League goalkeeper. He ain't going to be saving those at this level. Halladine right wing back is superb, consistent player, rock solid. Definitely in the side for me. And then the back 3, this is where you have it's complicated if you're going with a back 3 to play these 3 in a back 3, because I don't think they complement each other at all, and that's why we've had to play a back 4. But I think when you're playing against Notts County, you've got to be able to press them. Otherwise, you're surrendering to a ball, they'll break you down like that, because that's what they live for. But you've got to be able to press cautiously, like I alluded to when talking about what can we expect. So I think it's best to start in a back 3, because there's a good balance to the press then. And so I've had to go Stubbs, Taylor and Platt. I think Taylor can deal with McGoldrick quite well. He can be physical with him. It's just if he can spin him, but I don't think he's got that much pace anymore. He never was the quickest anyway, McGoldrick, so he can get tight to him. But then there's a lot of pressure on Stubbs and Platt to be able to drop and not let Langstaff get that pace, get to running behind, not allow him to use his pace against them because they're too slow. If Tomkinson were available, I would have dropped Stubbs. I don't think Stubbs has been on good form recently, but I hope he can get back to what we saw last season. But I think he gets a bit of a free ride in the fan base compared to a Taylor who's been solid. For me, he was solid against... Did he play against Sutton? I'm not sure if he did, but he was solid against Wrexham and he was solid against Barrow on Saturday. MK Dons had a shocker and Crawley had a shocker, but he's getting a lot more stick than Stubbs for me, and Stubbs is getting a free ride. I think he's been shaky this season. He hasn't been reading the game as well as he does, and he hasn't got pace to make up for the mistakes when he does make them, and he has. So yeah, for me he's been poor, and for me, if Tomkinson was available, he'd be the first player in that back line for me. I want to see more of him, but he's on international duty this weekend. Matty Platt, solid player, ain't gonna let you down, and yeah, I'd put him in over Kelly. I did want to play Kelly, but he's too rash for me. Gilead in left wing back, like I say, Richards doesn't. I'm not sure if he's able to play. Sharpness, he ain't been on the bench. Is he that fancied? Gilead's got that. He's been playing more recently. He's played as a left back in the last game. As a left wing back, there's less pressure on him defensively, and there's a bit more freedom down the flanks as well. So I think Gilead would suit that role much better on Saturday than Richards in such a big game. You can't be affording to be putting a player in who's had no fitness, and obviously Ridehalgh's injured as well. Into midfield too, Smallwood and Walker, very simple for me. Smallwood massively improved recently. I wouldn't drop him for McDonald's in such a big game, and you need a player like Smallwood to be getting onto players in this type of a fixture. And then Walker as well, he's got great tenacity, but also he's got a bit of creativity that you need. He's got the dynamism that Gilead offers, but he's got that bit more in product in the final third with him being number 10. And without Pattison, I think he's a really good replacement in that position. And if you're playing a back three behind him, he's got that bit more licence to go forward. The front three, Tulloch, I want to see more of him. Really rated him. He came off the bench at Mansfield and the sort of electric pace, and then I wanted to see more of that consistently. And Grimsby came on, looked good. Harrogate, can't remember if he came on there, but then Newport had a fantastic game. And then we haven't really seen much of him since then. Even when he's been on the pitch, he hasn't really done a lot, but he hasn't had that run of games that I think if he gets, he could be a really exciting player. He's got pace, he's got skill, he's got a bit of directness that you need. And against Notts County, you're going to have to be able to counter, you're going to have to be able to press high, and you need pacey players. And for that reason, I've gone Tulloch and Wilson on the wings. No point in our disappointed with him on Saturday. I'd only bench him. I won't completely drop him, but he gets a free ride with him being a City fan. Completely get it, but we don't want to burn him out. We do need to keep him hungry, and I think in this type of a game it would suit Tulloch and Wilson a lot more with a bit more pace in behind to threaten them. And Smith up top. Cook's had a lot of criticism, and it's been deserved recently with his recent performances, but he's also had a lot. He's got an injury. It's clear that he's carrying an injury. He can't press he couldn't really press last season, but with his injuries, with the workload that he's having to put on himself to get himself ready for match days, I'd just leave him out for Smith and give Smith this chance. I'd imagine that he'd get chances in behind, and his pace will be able to complement that to get him in those positions, and he can press their defenders much better than Cook, and I think it would be a mistake to start Cook on Saturday. Well, let me know your thoughts going into the game in the comments down below, your score predictions, your team selections. I'll go 2-1 City. I'll back them. I think if we can get a game plan right, they're there to be had on the counter. If we get it wrong, it could be 3 or 4-0. Well, like the video if you did, subscribe if you're new. Have a good one.